What is a symbol, really? A flag, a logo, a simple shape. They seem so common, so everyday. But what if I told you these images are actually incredibly complex cultural codes, like tiny, ancient hard drives that are holding our entire history? Well, in this explainer, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to decode the symbol and uncover its secret jobs in shaping, well, who we are.
All right, so here's the game plan. First, we're going to tackle the symbol's identity crisis. Why is this idea so tricky to pin down? Then we'll dive into its 4 crucial cultural jobs, how it acts as an ancient memory drive, an independent text, a bridge across time, and finally, as the actual glue that holds our cultures together.
So, first up, the symbol's identity crisis. You'd think this would be straightforward, right? But here's the thing. Before we can even get into what a symbol does, we have to wrestle with the surprisingly difficult question of what a symbol even is.
It seems like such a simple question to ask, but believe it or not, this has been a huge point of debate for scholars for, well, forever. Is a symbol something that has a natural built-in meaning, or is its meaning just something that we all as a culture agree on?
In this slide, it just perfectly lays out the 2 competing ideas. So on one side, you have the iconic view. This theory says a symbol has a natural, almost obvious connection to what it means. Like the scales of justice. The image itself just looks like balance. But on the other side, you've got the conventional view. This camp argues there's nothing natural about it at all. The meaning is purely based on a social agreement, something a culture decides on.
So what this quote is really telling us is that at the end of the day, even if we can't all agree on one universal definition, every culture absolutely needs to have its own concept of a symbol. It just has to. A cultural system is basically incomplete without these shared points of meaning. They're a fundamental building block for how we communicate and understand who we are.
Okay, let's move on to the first big function and see how this all connects. Let's think about the symbol as a kind of ancient hard drive for our culture.
Yeah, symbols have this really unique connection to our deep past. Many of the most powerful symbols you use every day have roots that stretch way, way back into pre-literate times, long before we even had a written language to record our stories and our beliefs.
And this slide just illustrates that evolution perfectly. It almost always starts with a super simple elementary shape, a circle, a cross. But over time, that shape becomes what scholars call a mnemonic program. Now, just think of it like a powerful mental shortcut, or maybe a compressed zip file. That one simple shape can suddenly store these huge, complex texts and entire cultural memories. It's wild.
Next up, let's talk about the symbol's really unique ability to move freely within a culture, almost like it's a free agent.
Okay, so this is absolutely central to a symbol's power. See, unlike a simple word, which gets most of its meaning from the sentence it's sitting in, a symbol is like a self-contained package of meaning. It has its own clear boundaries. This means you can just pick it up from one story and drop it into a completely different one, and it still keeps its core identity.
And that independence, that is what makes the symbol such a powerful and incredibly versatile tool for creating meaning. It can travel across time, jump between different stories, and adapt and combine with new ideas, all without losing its essential character.
All right, now we're going to get into one of the symbol's most profound functions, its relationship with time itself. This is really cool.
So just imagine for a second that our experience of time is a horizontal line, moving from the past through the present to the future. A normal text, like a story, exists somewhere along that line. But a symbol is different. It cuts vertically through time, bringing memories and meanings from the distant past directly into our present, and at the same time pointing toward our future.
So what this means is that whenever a symbol appears in, say, a modern text, it brings the entire weight of its history with it. So if you see an ancient symbol in a brand new movie, it's not just a prop in that movie. It's like an ambassador from the past injecting all of that deep memory right into our contemporary world.
Okay, and finally, let's get to the symbol's most important social role, acting as a mechanism for cultural unity. It is, quite literally, the glue that holds us all together.
When you think about it, stable sets of symbols are the absolute backbone of a culture. They are the most durable, long-lasting elements we have. They act as these channels to transfer our essential stories, our values, and our ideas from one generation to the next. This shared symbolic language is what prevents a culture from just falling apart, and it even helps us define our national and regional identities. In other words, our shared symbols are our collective memory in action. They are what stop our culture from fracturing into all these disconnected moments in time. Instead, they weave all of our experiences together into one continuous, coherent story.
And this reveals the symbol's fascinating paradox. It has to be constant enough to be an emissary from other cultural epochs that we can all recognize. And yet, at the very same time, it has to be flexible enough to be transformed by whatever's happening right now so it can stay relevant and stay alive.
So how on earth does it pull off this incredible balancing act? Well, it's through something called a semantic reserve. And this is the key idea. A symbol's potential for meaning is always greater than any single way you use it. It's like it's always holding something back, this deep well of other possible meanings that it can tap into in the future.
And this brings us to a brilliant point. The simplest symbols are often the most powerful. But why? Well, it's because there's this huge gulf between the simple expression, the shape itself, and its vast, complex content. And that gap, that's where interpretation, imagination, and all of our cultural meaning can thrive. A really detailed image just doesn't leave much room for us to add our own meaning.
So when you pull it all together, you see that symbols aren't just static images. Not at all. They are our memory, they are our bridge through time, and they are the glue that holds us together. Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. If symbols are this fundamental to our identity, what happens to us when the meanings of our most important symbols begin to shift and change?